Babies, babies, are we recording? All right. Uh, Definitely today was interesting. I uploaded my first business analysis videos, so that was awesome. And I had a meeting with one of the guys that was conducting research. And let's just say this month I wasn't clicking with me and what he was doing, I don't know, just kind of felt like a waste of money. But today, while sitting with him, I wanted to see what he had. And like a part of me was like, okay, don't jump into anything, just wait till the whole meeting finishes and see how it goes. And he ended up with something that kind of like caught my eye and that we could do. And again, like as just researching, I'm really just following the vibe. Like, is what we're doing kind of like fun to do? If it's fun to do, that means something comes out of it. If it's not fun to do, that means we're going to probably be adding like stress and a whole lot of shit to some equation that is not really necessary. And that's where I kind of like in this cutting the umbilical cord style. Well, anyways, it was fun. I got to remember a lot about why I'm doing what I'm doing and all the things that are connected with it. I kept a lot to myself as well. But overall, let's just say it was a beautiful day. I got to reconnect with an old friend as well. We talked. I took like 3 notes today, man. It's funny, really. Like, it's just like kind of feels there's sometimes a vibe for like note taking that happens around. And other times it's just kind of like one of those beautiful days where you're just being productive hardcore. Today's video, asking myself the question, why does my mind always envision worst case scenarios? Why doesn't it envision the things that I want? Valid. Asking myself the question, why does my mind always envision worst case scenario? Why doesn't it envision the things that I want? There's something that's very important that I want to share with you right now. Yeah, there's nothing. I just wanted to fuck. But there's something very important. It's just not as intense as I made it look. What's important is, and that's a discovery I had like a month ago. Anything I write in these books becomes real. I promise you, it's not a fucking joke. I don't remember the last time I considered a worst case scenario. These days, anytime I'm thinking of anything, I consider the failure. And that's perfectly awesome because I kind of consider how it could fail and whatever possibility of failure it is. And I just start doing it. In a way, there's, and I've made many videos about it, in a way, there's like clarity that kind of just abstracts every possibility about everything else, just takes it out of your mind. And then you're only there with your intention and why you made the choice to kind of like pick the thing that you wanted to do, your intention towards it, and then just action. And it doesn't have to be a hardcore action, man. It really doesn't have to be like intensely jumping into something and going like, I'm gonna finish this 2 days. No, 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 bro. We really have our own pace. We really have our own process. And my favorite, I think, like thing to say is like when you're tightening the screw and it kind of gets stuck, you don't force it in. Because if you do, you're gonna kind of like hinge the rails or something. So it's either gonna get stuck there, or the next time you want to take the screw out, it's gonna be a whole lot of drama. So that's something like profound. Because the minute I write the note down, it becomes a part of me. It's like I genuinely ask myself the question: why does my mind always envision worst case scenario? And why doesn't it envision the things that I want? And imagine asking yourself that question. In a moment of anxiety, maybe. Imagine asking yourself that question. It's like, why am I envisioning something that's not going to be of my best interest? Uh, I read it somewhere. Uh, Morbid positivity. I don't know if you guys heard of it, but you kind of like create this image that everything that's happening is happening for your own sake. And it's kind of like, oh my God, I'm gonna be successful. What the fuck am I gonna do with it kind of style? Maybe that triggered something like this to come up. I bet a lot of shit triggers something like this. But the beauty of like writing this down is it becomes a yeah, you legitimize the passing thought in your head, which shows something. If I were to reflect on where this kind of question came from, or where this note came from, I generally would say, like, I probably was walking around with a monologue in my head. And you resist this shit, right? Ignoring is not really something that we should do, because that's also some resistance. But you resist this shit. It's like, nah, it's not possible. Why? Of course it's possible. We're operating on the basis of everything around us is magical. Just imagine this. If I take a seed and I put it in the ground, 2 years down the line, it would have sprouted into like stems and leaves and grapes and fucking mangoes and all that shit. Nobody can tell me that's not magic, man. Nobody. It is ridiculous. And I was saying that as a passing the other day. I was like, no. Yeah, anything is possible because ultimately, like, life is molded by the environment. And so we're either consciously creating an environment or nature is creating an environment for us. And so the idea behind it is like, going back, since everything is possible, then rejecting something, resisting something, but take it a step back even for you to notice what's happening with you because your character kind of like is taking charge. Your mind throws something at you and you're saying yes, no, yes, maybe, yes, no, maybe, yes, no. That's your attitude towards how things are happening. And so ultimately, when you're looking at things and you're going like, okay, why is this happening and not this? Effectively, what you're doing is questioning your character, which makes me think. I think it's Socrates. Know yourself. Which I think is Socrates. It's one of the three, bro. I remember it was Socrates, then Aristotle. Know thyself is a philosophical maxim which was inscribed upon the temple of Apollo. Uh, who's the fucking guy who wrote it? Attributed to the seven sages of Greece, Chios, one's abilities, whatever. I disagree with this, know thyself. Because ultimately, like a question like this, asking myself the question, that's literally the note. Why does my mind always envision worst case scenarios? Why doesn't it envision the things that I want? What I'm doing is I'm getting to know myself. Because when you present yourself with such a question, and notice I gave myself two options. It's like, why am I doing this instead of this? Which means I naturally would want to prioritize the imagining better case scenarios, imagining scenarios where things kind of like fit perfectly and kind of like are working exactly for my benefit. We all want to imagine that, but we have that seed of doubt, right? But I've discussed it before. Like, trust is inherent. So when we're doubting something, we're trusting in that doubt. So we're starting the relationship with trust. And the idea behind it becomes like, when this question is presented to yourself, at first you should take pride in noticing whatever was going on in your head. Because a lot of people are anxious and they don't know why. A lot of people are stressed out and they can't really like tell because whatever's happening in their head is not really like they're not able to kind of like take some slow the pace in order for them to slow their own pace in order to notice what's going on. I'm looking up because I don't know. And I always look up. And I think that's why people say look up to God. And it's a thing because even in yoga, when you're kind of like stretching, like the prayer pose in Islam and the forgot what pose it was, the baby or something, the crouching baby pose or the something pose in yoga is basically you have to stretch yourself and you kind of like your mind kind of like your head has to set, your eyes have to look up in order for you to kind of stretch. And even meditation, they tell us like your eyes have to look up. When you're looking up, you kind of like detach yourself from whatever it is, and you're able to enter the state of meditation better or something. So I always look up because that's where I imagine consciousness kind of builds stuff. When you're looking underground, you're looking at the tangible stuff. When you're looking above ground, you're looking at the intangible stuff. And effectively, what happens is you're basically like giving yourself the chance to reflect. You're not really reflecting. Or I think just asking the question itself is reflection. Because what happened when I write the note down, it becomes real. Why? Because I gave it enough importance for my mind to start considering these things. And I don't really have to think, because over a course of a day or 2 days or a week, I've automatically gotten accustomed to the new thing, simply because my intention was set to it. And this is fucking beautiful, legit manifestation. Because ultimately, like, everything I write down comes true. Every thought process, everything I talk about. I remember once, like I was reading a note, and the note I was like, I generally wrote the note, and the note was people don't invest in. It's about business, basically. People don't invest in the business. They invest in you. And 3 days later, I got somebody that was willing to invest in my company. So it's just like one of those. And here, so I could be arrogant and start writing shit I want in this note. But that would fuck with the vibe because I'm interfering. So I can't do that. I have to wait for the thoughts to come on their own. It's a video. I fucking love you guys. I love this. I think everyone should do this.